I'm T. Rick Jones. I'm the managing editor.
I'm Aster Lufkin. I'm a contributing writer.
And I'm Tony Tellado from the Sci-Fi Talk podcast, host and producer.
And this is your daily Star Trek news roundup for the week of June 2, 2020. The first thing I want to talk about is that we've had some news on Prodigy finally, Prodigy season 2. So Aster, you wrote up the first part of this. So you wanna talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, basically, Prodigy's coming on July 1st, which is really exciting. I almost said June 1st. It is June right now. July 1st is Prodigy. Prodigy is coming, and everyone's super excited. It found out because the way I'm pretty sure people found out was not from like an official announcement originally. Netflix just like put it on the Android app and it said like coming July 1st under Prodigy, and people were like, oh my gosh. Um, and then they released an official announcement. But that's originally how people found out. Yeah, and we've been waiting for a while, and nobody really knew when this was going to come out. It sounds like Netflix wasn't being very communicative. Um, so now that it's out, it's coming out, everyone's really excited. And we didn't know this when I wrote the article, but now we know that all of the episodes are dropping at once, all 20 of them. Clear your calendars, get like a large bowl of popcorn. You're going to be there for a while.
Yeah, binge away.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to bring up the list because there are places it's not going to be as well.
Oh.
It's not going to be on Canada, the Nordics, the CEE, Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Poland, Russia, Belarus, and mainland China. So everywhere else worldwide, it's going to show up. So if you live in one of those countries or territories, find a different one for on July 1st and just sit all day and watch and then go home.
I have a great free VPN that gives you 10 gigabytes free. We're not even sponsored by them. They're called Windscribe. You should, if you want to watch it, get Windscribe VPN.
Yes, and Windscribe, you can pay us for that mention.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sponsor today's podcast.
They don't know it yet.
They don't know. Yes.
So anyway, so are you guys excited, Tony? I don't remember. Were you a Prodigy fan? What's your take on Prodigy? And
I am a Prodigy fan. I actually spoke to the cast at the beginning of that season. Anytime you get to talk to Kate Mulgrew, it's a bonus. And I loved it. Loved talking to all of them. The young cast, great young cast, mixed with veterans like Kate and also John Noble, of course.
Yeah.
Who's killing it in that role. He does villains so well. So, but yeah, I am a big fan. I thought it's a great show for kids. I was mystified and a bit angry that it was taken off Paramount Plus, and it was like, well, what are they doing? They're attracting a whole new audience, and they just cut them off right here. Yeah. So I'm happy that Netflix has it, and I think it's going to be a great thing for it. Do you know if it's going to be on Nickelodeon as well?
It's only going to be on Netflix, as far as they've told us so far. I have a source at Netflix that has been keeping me in the loop, and so yeah, that's all they've mentioned. So,
well, I'm happy that it's going to be seen there, and a lot of people have it. So I think that's going to be really, really cool, and I'm glad it's back.
How about you, Aster? Are you a Prodigy fan? I think you are, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, I'm a Prodigy fan.
That was a dumb question.
I think Prodigy does a really good job at like exploring concepts we haven't really seen in Star Trek before, better than like most other shows. Like we had, I believe, the first ever Zero Gravity episode with Prodigy, and I was like, this is so exciting. And we have just like really awesome characters, and really it's so new, which is something I feel like we don't often see. Like we see a lot of Vulcans and we see a lot of Klingons, but I forget the name we don't know what species the main character's name is, who have left my brain. I keep saying Dax, but it's not Dax. Dax.
Oh, this is bad. None of us can remember it.
Yeah, I forget. Maybe I'll get on the IMDb machine and look it up.
Yeah.
Eh,
But
It's some,
yeah,
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I think like that's why I really like Prodigy is because there's so much new stuff and
Yeah.
it's really exciting. Yeah, and
Is it Dal?
oh, you're right, it's
it
Dow.
is Dow.
Dal.
You know, I was close.
That was it.
And you know what's so confusing about it is because there's an Adira Tal in another Star Trek series. They're running
It's too much.
they're running out of combinations of letters, I think, to create these alien names.
Yes.
Um, but anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future if there's going to be a season 3, because they've been so tight-lipped about it and it's taken so long to get it out. And now they're dropping all 20 episodes at once. It makes me wonder if Netflix is like, okay, we'll pick this up for the season because you've made it, but aren't going to commission any more episodes. So it'll be interesting to see how how they end the season. I'm sure they ended the season so that it could continue, but wouldn't have to. My guess is that's what they did. But it'll be interesting to see if a season 3 happens. I guess it depends on how popular it is on Netflix.
Yeah, it could be a test run and seeing if they get the viewers,
Yeah,
Netflix will say, "Hey, wait a minute, we got something else here." So
yeah. I'm a little disappointed they're not dropping, an episode a week or even just 2 episodes a week or something, like
Yeah.
dragging it out a little bit. Because I kind of like that. I like that the Star Trek shows do that. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. Alex Kurtzman did a couple of interviews this week. One was about Starfleet Academy and why it was set in the Discovery era, which is the 32nd century. And it's basically because he feels that and as opposed to doing it in like the 24th century or something like that, the 32nd century is really going to speak to modern day audiences, especially teenagers and kids. He thinks the problems that are presented in the 32nd century in the post-burn era are just gonna be a little more relevant than if they went back to the 24th century, which most of those shows came out in the 90s, and those issues aren't relevant anymore. And the Discovery ones are relevant. So what do you guys think? That he said more than that, but that was the main thrust of the interview. Tony, what do you think about
mhm.
those statements?
I I think it's a really good move. For an obvious reason, it's like you're not a slave to the canon of the original series or next gen. So this way you can kind of make new canon because we've never been to the 32nd century at all. So it gives him a lot of opportunity to expand upon that. And I think it's a great move. And, he said this in interviews that, yes, the the 32nd century parallels what's going on in our 21st. So it keeps the show relevant and the themes relevant. So I think it's a good move. And I mean, they're in essence rebuilding Starfleet. So why not rebuild Starfleet Academy?
Yeah.
Yep, and Aster.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think it would be a shame that if everything they developed in the 32nd century, the plot, the characters, everything, if that sort of disappeared with Discovery, because I think there's a lot there and we didn't get to explore all of it and a lot of, effort went into developing it. So I'm excited to see sort of more of this era.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He also did another interview this week, and this one was about a lot of things, but the main thing on this was he's very proud of Star Trek and being involved in Star Trek and what Star Trek is. And I'm just going to quote something he said. He says, "It makes no sense to me to make one show that's for everybody. Let's make an adult drama, an animated comedy, a kids comedy, an adventure show, and on and on. there's something quite beautiful about that. It allows each of the stories to bloom in its own unique way. And I tend to agree with that. I think it's great that not every Star Trek is for everyone. I think, that just adds to the infinite diversity and infinite combinations. I really thought it was an interesting perspective, and it broadens the world and brings in more Star Trek fans. Which is what we want. We don't want, well, most of us, I think, don't want to be insular and just be like, I've been watching Star Trek since 1966 and you can't come in. We don't want to be gatekeepers.
Right.
Tony, what's your perspective?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that statement. And you're developing the universe a little further. I'm hoping for Starfleet Academy, some of the Discovery folks will cross over. Obviously, Tilly is an obvious one. She loves teaching, and I think she'd be a natural. And she hasn't confirmed or denied anything, so she could show up. Certainly, we could see the Admiral there. I mean, I would love to see like Saru show up occasionally, and get a perspective on his marriage, and there's an article that you guys had that showed which characters we'd like to see in Discovery. I mean, in Starfleet Academy,
That's
and
our top 5 Friday, written by
Top
Chris
Five
Columbus.
Friday. Yeah, and I love lists, so
Yeah,
I thought there was some interesting choices there. So
yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see. I would love to see Tig Nicotero return. I think
Mhm.
she's fantastic.
Yeah, I think she's great. And I think I mean, I haven't seen any Star Trek Fleet Academy because they haven't even filmed it yet, but I
Yeah.
think she'd fit in great there as a sort of occasional guest. What about you, Aster?
Yeah, I agree, and it's nice because I recommend Star Trek to a lot of people, and it's like I can say I think you would like this show, and like especially with the newer Trek, I'm like it's short, like you can it's gateway Trek, like just yeah, and sort of I so that's why I really like it. Like I got my little cousin to watch Prodigy. I don't think she understood it. She's like 5. Um,
Also this week, I released part of an interview with Daniel Davis. I did this interview a couple of months ago. And it was actually for Sherlock Holmes magazine, where I'm a contributing writer. Daniel Davis, as many of you know, was Moriarty on Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek: Picard. And my interview for Sherlock Holmes magazine talked about all of that. We talked about Elementary, Dear Data, Ship in a Bottle, and The Bounty. Um, the article I posted this week on Daily Star Trek News was mainly about his a lot anyway about his fandom. He's been a fan of Star Trek since 1966. He was watching.
Wow.
And when he got, it was sort of surreal for him when he got the call to audition for Star Trek: The Next Generation. And he goes into the story of how that audition went, and there's a portion of that in this week's article and more in the Sherlock Holmes magazine article. Um, so he's just a huge fan, and he was so excited when he got the call for Star Trek Picard. His agent called him and said, Picard, Star Trek Picard. He had watched the first episode and was like, I really want to be on this. I hope they do this. And then he got the call and he said to his agent, yes. And his agent or manager said, well, don't you even want to know what it is? And he said, I don't care what it is, just yes. So he went and did it without, like, sight unseen. He didn't even get the script till he landed in LA. And I go in a little more into that story in the Sherlock Holmes magazine article. So if you want to see that, sherlockholmes.com, sherlockholmesmagazine.co.uk. You can order its issue number 17. Um, so you can go to that. Tony Tellado, what do you think of Daniel Davis and Moriarty?
Well, I think he made a great Moriarty. Actually, I was exposed to him. He was also an established star of daytime dramas, and that's the first time I saw him. And I was just impressed by his presence, his manner, his diction. You could tell he is a classically trained stage actor as well. And yeah, I loved his Moriarty, and I think he added something, and was thrilled to see him come back in Picard, because I thought it was an interesting character, great actor, and I'm really happy for him. I didn't know he was a huge fan, but yeah,
Yeah.
great performance. And he had, that's the beauty of Picard, is that everybody that was used had a role to play and just wasn't there for cameo's sake. So that's why I appreciated it.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say about him being a classically trained actor, because he's from somewhere in the South, I think Kansas or something. And he was like, and he's known for playing Niles on The Nanny, who's this British.
Right, yes.
That's the kind of role he gets. He also said he, for a long time, played the Nazi of the Week in every Stephen Cannell show that came out. And it's because we spoke a little bit about this. It's because he's classically trained. He's a Shakespearean actor, and so the way he speaks sounds to us yokels like he's British. And so he gets typecast in those kinds of roles. Aster, what's your take on Moriarty?
Oh, I love Moriarty. I think his origin is so good with Geordi being like, make someone that can stand up to Data. And then, the computer made like a sentient being. And
Yeah.
I think one thing I also really like about his character is that he's one of the few, like, TNG has a habit of like dropping like really big, like world-changing plot points and then like forgetting they ever did that.
Yep.
And so I like that they went back to Moriarty and sort of like reprised his role, because I think he takes over the ship at one point, and
Yeah.
like it was awesome to see him like in Picard, and I was like, you were not forgotten. I'm really happy about that, because I think he's just really fun.
Well, do you know the story of what happened? Probably not. So they did this episode, and at the same time this episode came out, the Young Sherlock Holmes film came out. And the Conan Doyle estate, I think Sherlock Holmes was out of copyright in England, but it wasn't out of copyright completely in America until last year. And every year a few stories became decopyrighted, decopywritten. And so they did this episode and put it out. And meanwhile, the Conan Doyle estate was suing Young Sherlock Holmes, which I think was also Paramount.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Because they had done the Sherlock Holmes film. So in the following season, in season 3, they were going to do there's an episode that starts, I think it starts, it's the one that starts with A Christmas Carol. And Data is Scrooge. And in the holodeck. And it was supposed to be a Sherlock Holmes story. And they had it written and were ready to do it. And then it's the beginning of The Defector, I think. And then word came down, you cannot use Sherlock Holmes. Don't use him. So they had to rewrite that whole beginning. So for years, they wanted to do sequels to this. And for years, they couldn't because they were afraid of getting sued. And then in season 6, they did a little research and found out that all they would have to do was pay like a modest fee to the Conan Doyle estate and be able to use the character again. So that's what they did.
Waited that long.
Yeah, they waited that long. It was a new showrunner. So they did, that's what they did. And then Ship in a Bottle was actually a script that had been sent to them in season 3 that they decided not to do, that did not involve Moriarty. It involved a completely other character, a new character. And so they took it and recreated it to, rewrote it to be a Moriarty script. So yeah, it's a really interesting history. So there you go.
Interesting.
Next up, Michelle Paradise did an interview as well, talking about the end of Star Trek Discovery and how it ties into Calypso. And she said, we never wanted Calypso to be the dangling Chad. So they knew that their focus was on writing the end of the series and focusing on that. And I think it was right that they mainly we talked a little bit about this last week. We didn't they didn't focus on a lot of the cast. They just focused on Burnham
Yeah.
and basically Zara. Um, and which I think was a good choice. I agreed. I can't remember if it was Chris or Sabrina said they really kind of wanted more of the rest of the cast, which I understand, but it really wasn't an ensemble show. It was Burnham's story from beginning to end. So I kind of came around to that idea. But so they wanted to add in this thing about, setting up Calypso, which was a short trek that they did right after season one, about this dude named Kraft showing up on the ship. And the ship now at this point is sentient, has a name. None of that had happened yet. And so they were layering it throughout, obviously, because they made her sentient and gave her the same name and all that. I'm not sure it follows for me. But they feel like they tied that story up nicely. So Tony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, it was a nice it was a nice way to kind of tie a ribbon around everything. And it really bookends using the chase from as the starting off point for this season.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it so much. I think there's still a story to be told. What happens after Burnham leaves? You know, before Calypso, and what does the ship encounter during that part? So,
Yeah.
I don't think it would behoove them to do like an hour long, but another short trek couldn't hurt. And I think that'd be cool. You can have some maybe aliens find it, and
Mhm.
maybe they could be hostile or whatever. So, hey, I didn't mind that. I thought there's a lot of story left to tell, I think.
I agree. I would love for them to do some more short treks, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's in the cards. They can never do another very short trek again, but they could do the short treks again. I'd be okay.
Yeah.
Aster, what about you?
I Yeah, I understood when watching that they just like needed to set up. But I don't think they needed to set up why that happened. Like frankly, I think I would have accepted that it happened so far in the future that I don't know, Discovery got recommissioned with a new crew and then she lost the crew and was like stranded. Like that is like a valid reason that I would have just accepted. But it was so I don't understand why they were like, we need to set this up.
Right.
Um
Yeah. Yeah.
but and I think probably I would have preferred to see more of the cast and like where they ended up. Even just like, I don't know, an epilogue montage with like, like at the end where it's like, Detmer went on to like become like captain of the like I would have been like happy with that. Like
Uh-huh.
that's totally not Discovery style. Um that being said, I do understand why they did it, and I thought it was cool to see Book and Burnham like grow old and their son, and it sort of made me think, oh, I hope he shows up in Starfleet Academy
Mhm.
because that would be cool. Um, but
Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
it is stated by Burnham by in the short trek by Zara and then by Burnham in the last episode of Discovery that you know the crew's your crew's going to take you somewhere and leave you. So why couldn't the crew have been our friends, the crew of Discovery, and then see them all instead of Burnham sitting down alone and taking Discovery out? Why couldn't the whole crew be around her?
I think
Um,
it's probably because they couldn't get everyone back for the.
it's possible, or maybe it would have cost them a fortune in old age makeup. Who knows? But
Yeah.
but that would have been cool. Then we could have seen the whole crew together one more time. I agree that something could have happened, but
Yeah. I'm with Aster. I think a montage at the end to
yeah,
show the crew members what they did, and without having to age them, where they moved on to, would be cool.
yeah,
But I guess with Tilly, you can't let the cat out of the bag too soon.
right. That's true.
But I mean, but still, she could hint that she would like to teach again, and that's all we would needed to hear.
Well, that's true.
Mhm.
They already at the end were like they already blew the Tilly thing though because at one point she tells her son, or her son tells her, or somebody says to somebody that Tilly is the longest running Starfleet Academy instructor.
Ah, that's
She
right.
had that line in there. So they've already like I when as soon as I heard that, I was like, they've already tied themselves to a thing that they might not want to be true in the future. So I
Yeah.
was surprised that they did that.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't get that. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for
Yeah.
her. She's a great young actor
Yeah.
and brought a lot to the role. So I'm glad she at least the character has a future. I don't know what
And
they're gonna
now
do.
Mary Wiseman can never leave Star Trek.
Yes,
No, I don't understand why they won't let Mary Wiseman just say she's in Starfleet Academy at this point.
I know
Like,
everybody knows it.
I don't
like
get it
Paramount's
either.
gonna like release the
Clear.
information. They're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so surprised! Like we've been sitting on this." It's like, no.
Shock. Oh my God.
Yeah, so like Chris said a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago, if she said no, I'm not in it, then that would have been definitive. But because she's saying I can't talk about it, she's clearly in it. Just
Yeah.
tell us she's in it.
You know, it's like I'm gonna have to like write up that article and be like, "We're all so surprised, like and so excited. We never saw this come."
On to some sadder news. Actor Eric Anderson passed away at 67 of cancer.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, he debuted in Friday the 15th? No, Friday the 13th, the final chapter in 1984. That was his first acting credit. He's been in The X-Files, Dallas, Murder, She Wrote. Everybody was in Murder, She Wrote in those days. CSI Miami. Every actor ever born was in CSI at some point. But Star Trek fans will know him as Commander Kieran McDuff from the episode Conundrum in The Next Generation. And according to what Dave wrote up for us, his wife was in The Nth Degree, which is a fantastic Barclay episode.
Yeah.
So anyway, his name was McDuff, but he was sort of the MacGuffin of
Yes, exactly.
Conundrum. This is the one where the crew all falls asleep and then they wake up and don't know who they are. They have no memories, and they have the first officer is this Kieran McDuff. So he's the first officer, and the audience knows he's not, but everybody else
I don't
does.
know. He kind of looks like Riker. Like I
He
would
looks a
believe it.
little like Riker. Yeah, you could
Yeah,
buy
he does.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about Kieran McDuff and Eric Anderson?
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, here again, another person lost to cancer. It's the plague of our time, and I mean, yeah, we've been able to, have drugs that help and everything, but it's still around, unfortunately. And 67, that's young. He was taken way too soon.
Yeah.
I liked his character. I liked the fact that he was kind of annoying in Conundrum. It was like, wow, we haven't seen a first officer that literally talks back to the captain all the time. So I thought that was neat.
What about you, Aster? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's always sad when a Star Trek actor passes away. It's especially sad because I'm sort of used to seeing like the original series actors pass away. We don't see as many next gen people pass away, and it's like now I have to acknowledge that like we're getting there, and there's like people age, and eventually the next gen cast will start to pass away, which is sad, and we'll all miss them.
We haven't even written this up yet. Dave's writing it up today, but the actor Alan Scarf also died of cancer this week.
Wow. Wow.
That news just broke today. He was 77.
Wow.
And I'm just looking it up because I haven't read the whole thing. He did a whole bunch of great stuff. He was a really well recognized character actor. But he was on 2 episodes of Next Gen and an episode of Voyager. He was on the pilot episode of Voyager as Jabin, which I'm not sure which one Jabin was, but I think he's one of the Kess's people. I think he's one of them.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And then, but here, I'm learning this all as you are learning this. Uh, so, he was a he filmed Caretaker, the pilot episode, but he was later recast by Gavin O'Herlihy.
Oh yes, yes.
So, and I guess he was a Kazon, not a whatever Kes was.
Yeah.
But then he was in Resistance, and I think I know that story. I think maybe there was a death in the family or something. But anyway, he was unable to fulfill his contract, so they had to recast him. But then he was in Resistance on Voyager. And let's see, what did he do in Next Gen?
I believe he was in the episode, the two-parter Birthright.
I think that is correct.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
in that playing. I think it wasn't that like the colony of Romulans and Klingons that sort
That's
of
right. Yes.
and
Yes.
Worf discovers it, and at first he's like appalled, but then he kind of comes around.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
he was looking for his natural lineage, his real parents, not his. We know his adoptive ones. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had forgotten that. So anyway, Alan Scarf
Wow.
died died on April 28th, but the news is just trickling down to us. So
yeah, his son is an actor. He was in Van Helsing, the TV series,
right.
and also transitioned to direct some of their episodes too.
Yeah.
So the name lives on, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. So Aster, do you remember this guy? What are your feelings on him?
Frankly, I don't remember. I'm not very good with names, so I think if I saw a photo, I'd remember him.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed that Tony was just able to like pull out all of those facts. Like,
I know, I am too. I'm supposed to be the Trexpert here, but
yeah, no, is
so we are running a here. Okay. We are running a promotion with The Most Human, which is Adam Nimoy's memoir. If you go to the ChicagoReviewPress.com/mosthuman website and enter the code DSTN25, you're going to get 25% off The Most Human, and you're going to help us as well. This is a book about Adam Nimoy's relationship with his father. It's about his addiction to drugs. It's about how those two things coincide between him and his father. He had a very troubled relationship with his father, and this book explores that a little bit. It also explores his fatherhood, his own fatherhood with his kids. So go to chicagoreviewpress.com/mosthuman, use the code DSTN25 and get 25% off and help Daily Star Trek News in the process. What else happened this week, guys? Let's see.
there's the costume designer interview.
The costume designer,
Anthony Tran.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Interesting article, yeah.
Oh,
I didn't
read it. But I did stalk Anthony Tran after the
well, thanks anyway.
You can read it right now.
What do you think I'm doing?
Well, I read the article, and
do you want to recap?
Recapping.
I read it too, but it was like a day ago. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. So I did it as my show prep for today, and what was interesting is
I'm glad one of us is prepared.
nah, you got come. But anyway, he talks about kind of going back to the original series, especially on the Vulcan wedding costume, and kind of updating it for the 32nd century. And he says he goes back to the original series and then just updates or kind of use it as a source and then adds his own spin to it too. So yeah, he's a very talented young guy and really interesting. I thought that was neat. The Vulcan costumes, I thought, her wedding dress echoed the original series, but also brought it, to sensibility to our own time. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I thought those costumes were beautiful. But I thought the costumes, I mean, the costumes are just outstanding.
This
Yeah.
is
Oh, no, go ahead,
oh,
Est.
this is Anthony Tran's first season on Discovery. The rest of them were done by her name's Gersha
Yes.
Phillips.
Yeah, Bishop
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Gersha Phillips. And she also did an amazing job. But I think he really did so good with the wedding and sort of the Breen look amazing. I think he updated them really well.
Yeah.
Like after the wedding, I like fully went and stalked this man like on social media, which he's not active on, but he should be. And I
Yeah.
was like, he's quite young,
Yeah.
to be doing this, and I think he did, and he's so talented and did such an amazing job. And I think I've mentioned this on here before. I'm studying costume design, so anytime I see someone that's like just doing
Yeah.
this, I sort of I like looked through his whole portfolio and geeked out of it. It's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
it's really exciting.
he not only updated the Breen, but he made them much cooler, and I thought that was really neat. I love the new design. The old one I was really never a fan of. They look like something out of that Disney movie, The Black Hole, that came out in the 70s.
The last story we've got today is Leonard Nimoy. They're doing the Yiddish Book Center. They're doing a documentary. Um, it's part of their Wexler Oral History Project. They're doing a documentary on Leonard Nimoy and his Jewish heritage. Now, Star Trek fans probably know that the Live Long and Prosper sign is actually a Jewish symbol. It doesn't have a name yet. It's about Yiddish culture and about Leonard Nimoy. It's going to be on Chai-Flix, which I don't know, but I guess it's a Jewish streaming service. So,
Oh, cool.
so yeah, so that's and there's no date. I think they're just in the process of starting it. So, um, but anyway, Tony, what are your feelings about
Well,
Nimoy?
actually, to kind of piggyback on your story about how he peaked,
Yeah.
what and I know this because I heard him tell the story himself in a documentary. But essentially, at the end of the service, the rabbi says like a goodbye prayer. May the Lord keep you and shelter you, that kind of thing at the end. And he peaked. So going to a mock time, he was supposed to go up to Celia Lovsky, who was the Vulcan leader, and he said to the director, he goes, well, maybe it'd be cool if Vulcans had like their own form of greeting when they see each other that would be different. And then he came up with the famous Vulcan sign. Now, the funny thing was Celia Lovsky couldn't get it right on every take. So she had to position her hand so that when she put it up, just like I had to do, put up the sign, and then she got it. That was the only way they could shoot that take, and obviously since then, it's been in a lot of Star Trek episodes. So, but
Like
yeah,
like McCoy says in Journey to Babel, that hurts worse than the uniform.
yes,
And some people
right.
like I can easily do it.
I
But
cannot.
some people cannot.
Yeah, I can't.
When I was younger, I remember like training my hands to be able to do it.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
even before I watched Star Trek, I knew what it was, and I was like, "That's cool. I need to be like quirky and weird and like wave to people like that." So I was like, I don't know, 8. I
Yes.
remember like going on the table, like, come on. But now I can do it. So
Oh
Well,
yeah.
there you go. See, practice
Yeah.
makes perfect.
There you go. Awesome.
It's a special skill you can put on your resume. I never thought of that. I should do that. See what comes of it. Yeah. So, Aster, how do you feel about this story, this Yiddish documentary?
I mean, I'm excited. I'll probably watch it if I can get on Chai-Flix. I'm not gonna get a subscription because I don't want another subscription. But if I can like just purchase the documentary through it, sometimes you can do that. I'll
Yeah.
watch it. I love to watch it, and I feel like this is something about like Leonard Nimoy's Jewish heritage is something I've heard about, but I haven't really seen talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because I haven't seen it. So I'm really sort of interested to see this perspective on his life, and I would love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Star Trek documentaries. I'm kind of a junkie. I loved The Captains. I loved the Nichelle Nichols one that came out a couple of years ago. I loved For the Love of Spock. I love Chaos on the Bridge. I think they're fun. So there you go. Tony, are you going to be watching it?
If I can get access, I'm kind of in the same school as Aster. It's like, yeah, I don't want another subscription either. So, but I'd love to see it. I know that was very proud of his heritage, and there was a radio station, a campus radio station on Long Island for Stony Brook. And I remember one year, I just happened to turn on the radio on my drive home covering a sci-fi convention there that they ran for many years, but no longer do. And anyway, I was driving home and he was playing I think it was for Hanukkah, he was playing Leonard Nimoy singing songs in Hebrew. So, and he was very good. I mean, he had a decent singing voice. I got Mr. Spock's music from outer space. I had that. So
You
the
do.
LP, but not digitally, but LP, yes. So yeah, that was kind of interesting, and very proud. It enhances our lives if you bring in stuff from other cultures, and look at the impact of it. And yeah, wherever origin, as long as it's a peaceful one,
Right.
then it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm same as you guys. I don't need another subscription in my life, but I'll check it out if I can. I just want to wrap up by saying, um, if you're a Patreon subscriber, supporter, thank you so much. You hear me say this every week, but our service runs on those. We had a new subscriber just this past weekend, sign up. So we really appreciate it. It really helps us keep moving. We have all kinds of expenses. We have to pay for the website. We have to pay for the email. We have to pay for the podcast. All these things we have to do. And so your support really makes a difference and matters. And without it, we couldn't be doing this. So we really, really appreciate it. If you're not a supporter of our Patreon, hop on over. There's some new stuff there. We have mugs, we have tote bags, we have stickers. Probably more stuff coming in the future. So you can get a Patreon reward. Pick your level and sign up. You'll also get videos like this 2 days in advance. Also also interviews. I've got several coming up that are going to be coming out, including we did a series wrap up with myself, Chris Post, Tony Tellado, and Sabrina Wood, which I have not released yet. I'll be releasing this weekend. And you'll get that 2 days in advance on the Patreon. And you'll get deleted scenes. Sometimes we have moments that I think we have several this week that will be in the deleted scenes that nobody except the Patreons will see. We're also doing contests, and I have one coming up, but I'm not announcing it yet. But there will be a contest where you'll be able to win some Star Trek merch, and if it's really successful, we'll do like one a month until I no longer have any Star Trek merch. Thanks so much for your support, Aster, Lufkin, Tony Tellado. Thank you both for joining me once again. This is always a pleasure.
Yeah, ditto.
So much fun. So I'll see you all again soon.
I just got this and I think you'd like it. I was at the bookstore yesterday and they had their little Shakespearean insults cards.
Oh, I love that.
And I just had to buy it.
I have a Shakespeare insult mug that I adore.
Yeah. Let's see, what's the Tyrek, thou art an elvish mark abortive rooting hog. Jeez.
I mean, I can't deny it. Every once in a while during the recording, you should just pull one of those out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime you say something I disagree with.
Yeah.
Yes, please.